Having fun with the community. That's what we do here. Hello, everyone. I'm Gary Gonzo. Welcome to P1's coverage of Round 7 of Season 12. It's the transition season of the longest continuous running Dallara IR05 IndyCar League on iRacing is the Sim Gaming Expo Classic IndyCar Series. We come to you from Willow Springs for the very first time. And I had to do a lot of research on this place. Willow Springs Raceway for the inaugural running of the BJ manufactured IndyCar Grand Prix that's going to mimic an old IndyCar series that's no longer around, and we'll talk about that. Joining me in the booth, and we're getting ready to start here, is the Catalyst Andrew Wood. And Andrew, we probably should just get in the starting grid here right away. We don't have a lot of cars starting here today, but on the pole is Garrett Giacometti. Then we got Hoffman, Hutton, Stanley Grosher, Stumi, Markinau, Aiken, and Lovegren. And then Robinson, Hutchins, and Saunders rounding out this whole field. But good to be here. This is a track we virtually know nothing about, and you just had a little time to run on it.
Yeah, Gary, good to be back with you again. I raced a few laps around this place, and it's such a fast-flowing, exactly Western USA kind of vibe to it. Got all these big mountains and everything in the background, and it's a little bit tough to tame. There's a lot of places on this track where you can let your hair down and just go full throttle, which is so exhilarating in these cars. But there is that one technical section around turn 4 or 5 or so that probably could catch some guys out if they're just a little too relaxed around here. So let's see what happens.
We'll bring up the track map. Again, not a very familiar track. Getting ready to go green here for 80 laps here. It is a 2.5-mile race course. And there's plenty of runoff as we're green flag. Plenty of runoff, but once you drop a wheel, it could be dangerous.
Everyone gets through turn 1 a little bit of a trouble in the back part of the track, but I'm excited to see what happens when we get to the heavy braking zone up here in turn 3.
Too wide between Robinson and Aiken. Again, these laps, the time that you saw that Garrett qualified on the pole with a 59-second lap, that would be a new track record as we see Giacometti and Jared Ray Hutton side by side.
Yeah, we're used to seeing Jared Ray Hutton qualify well up front here and pretty much kind of have a stranglehold on the field here, but it's really, really great to see Johnny Garrett up front, qualifying up front as we were going through the grid there. And we were mentioning last week at Homestead how Garrett has been trying to get his season back in order again. So we're back at a road course, which tends to be Johnny's kind of decently run track configuration in this series. So now that he's got the pole, now he can really just set the pace. And as you could tell, now that we're down 1 lap, it is very difficult to pass here. So Johnny just kind of keeps himself out of trouble and keeps his lines nice and tight. He'll be the one to beat today.
And Garrett does have a little bit of a rear gunner in the form of Jan Hoffman, who's trying to stay alive in the points. We will talk about that. Then we have Marshall Stanley back there as well. So Vortex, the top 3 positions now, trying to add some numbers against Jared Ray Hutton and the iconic Team Watson Racing alliance of drivers. Hutton in 4th right now, but right in front of him, he has basically the entire Vortex lineup, sans Robert Grosher, who's back in 6th. And believe me, Robert wants to be up there right now.
Marshall Stanley basically playing spoiler up here for Jared Ray Hutton. I don't think we got a chance to talk about the point scenario yet.
No, we have not.
Hutton is our leader right in the standings right now, and Marshall Stanley being in this race, making his return to the Classic IndyCar Series from earlier on this season. He will play spoiler today, and I know all about the playing spoiler situation based on my go-karting excursion last week. There was one person who got disqualified from a race, and he wound up in my heat, and if he was up there running, he was going to play spoiler for my point situation. So I know exactly what that's like. And Jared Ray Hutton's probably saying, man, you're not in this race. I got to try to find some way to get by you to make sure I can stamp my authority here going forward.
All right, let's bring up the points one more time here on the screen. Here is Jerry Hutton with a 25-point lead over Jan Hoffman. Julian Altena third in the points, not in the lineup. So that will probably give third to Giacometti. Groscher in fifth. Lovgren in sixth. Ahmad Lal not in the lineup in seventh. Logan Simmons not in the lineup in eighth. Johnny Garrett currently leading right now in ninth. And Barkanow in 10th. And that is your top 10 points here after last round. And we just have two more races this season.
We did miss quite a big pileup last lap as you're going by there, Gary. I think Barnacow.
There we go. We'll get back into it.
Barnacow got himself a little bit sideways, and then everyone sort of piled in. I'm actually surprised that wasn't a caution. There's half the grid's involved in this, Gary.
And we'll see it right here. I believe he's going to drop a wheel, or it's either dropping a wheel or accelerating with these cars. And we talked about the low-end torque these cars have with the wheel spin. And we'll see him coming through, and again, uphill. So the car's already a little unstable. Goes around. Lovgren kind of gives him a bit of a check in the side there. And there, yeah, blimp cam gives you a much better view of what's going on here. We'll go back a little bit more. But yeah, all these cars right together.
Yeah, Andrew Adair Saunders will be a fun watch on his point of view because he has managed to avoid everything and pick up 6 spots, I believe. But much of the drivers in that situation actually drove out of it. So that's actually also kind of remarkable.
Yeah, let's go pop into Adair Saunders' car. Here he is going around it, going uphill, a little off-roading. And then, he's going to actually come down off the bed. That would, and probably real IndyCar racing, destroy the undertray of these cars, but he is still rolling.
Yeah, I'm sure that Adair Saunders didn't have the qualifying that he really wished that he would have had during that session there, but he just managed to drive around a big pile up there. So that's actually, like I mentioned, it was kind of shocking that there wasn't a caution thrown for that situation, but now we got several damaged race cars on the track.
Staley to the inside of Hutton. Hutton doesn't really fight. I think Hutton just sees maybe the end of the bigger picture at the end of this race. If he could clinch today. Stanley now back to the point. So top 3, or not back to the point, but back into the bottom step on the podium. Now the top 3 now Vortex, but Stanley, Hutton around.
I think he's just trying to tuck himself right on the inside there, and I think that part of the track right there especially is a little unsettling to the car. So, yeah, just a little bit of a minor side spin there. Nothing really to be talked about there. Hutton will wind her back up and go right back up to those top 3 again. I do have a little bit of interesting trivia for you, Gary.
Okay.
Nothing to do with the track, but in this series, both Marshall Stanley and Johnny Garrett both live on the west coast of the U.S., so this track may just be very familiar based on their environment and surroundings. So it's just kind of an interesting tie-in to say, hey, this is my kind of home track in this situation, and it's good to see that both those guys are sitting in the front of the field right now.
Yeah, this Willow Springs just on the other side of the San Gabriel Mountains from Fontana. About an hour and a half drive because you have to drive around the mountains and through a valley in order to get there. But basically just on the other side of the San Gabriel Mountains from Fontana is where Willow Springs is. It is the oldest natural road course in the United States, and the oldest natural road course that's still used. Albeit club racing and that type of stuff goes on here, but still used road course in the United States. This was going back to the 50s. Some movies were filmed here, including one of my all-time favorites that kind of got me into racing as a kid, The Love Bug. Disney's Love Bug was filmed here back in the 50s and 60s. I think it was the 60s when that movie was filmed. That was here. Also, it shows up in a number of other video games as well, including Gran Turismo, not just on iRacing. iRacing is the latest But Willow Springs has been around forever. But everyone's wondering, Gary, tell me if IndyCar's ever run here. No, IndyCar has never run here. However, a rival, I guess I wouldn't call it a rival series to the IndyCar Series, has run here. It was called the American IndyCar Series. I don't know if you remember this at all, Andrew, but basically that's where all the chassis went after they were retired from kart and IRL competition. They were sold to basically privateers who then would put a stock block engine in them, and then they would race them in the American IndyCar Series. Bill Tempero was the head of that series. In fact, if you follow SK Chow on Twitter or X, he is a big fan of the American IndyCar Series and has a lot of information about the American IndyCar Series. There really is a lot of incomplete records out there about the American IndyCar Series, so much so that I know that the American IndyCar Series raced here at Willow Springs a number of times, but in terms of who officially won all of those races, who officially qualified on the pole, a lot of those records are horribly incomplete. I can tell you that Bill Tempero did win here about 5 times. And second to him in wins was Buddy Lazier, of all people. Buddy Lazier won here 4 times. But they always ran very old cars. They could be cars from the 90s, from the 80s, whatever. But that was the American IndyCar Series, and they would race on basically circuits that the real IndyCar Series at the time never went to. And they would always race on odd combinations of tracks like, IndyCar now goes to Nashville Superspeedway. But did you know the American IndyCar Series went to the Nashville Fairgrounds? That's one track you don't really anticipate to see open wheelers on, but the American IndyCar Series did race at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and a whole host of other tracks. They would also race on like the infield road courses at Las Vegas and Auto Club Speedway and places like that as well. So that was the American IndyCar Series. You can look it up on Wikipedia to learn more about it, but they ran a lot of older equipment, and that's how they survived. They ran for about 10 years before kind of the economies caught up with them.
That was a lot of info to take in there, Gary. You really did your research on this track. I was still trying to comprehend the testing of the chassis and the engine for the Indy 500. That's actually an incredible statistic there that I'm sure no one really even thinks about, where all the testing happens and where these drivers prepare themselves for that big race every year. Yeah, I'm actually, as you're talking, I've been watching a pretty heated battle between Andrea Giacometti and Robert Grosser. I think Grosser ran off the track at the last corner, last lap, and Giacometti had that position, but Grosser really threw it up the inside and defended that position quite nicely. So this battle will continue, but we have someone in the chat asking regarding Kevin Lovegren, and yeah, it seems that Kevin Lovegren,
he's rolling.
Had a long pit stop.
He's rolling, but he's hurting.
Yeah, and talk about the love bug, which is we got to make sure he's in this race for that aspect of things. But I think the only car out of the race right now is Mike Wayne Robinson. He has parked it for the day. Probably too much damage from that incident, so unfortunate for him. But yeah, this is a track that a lot of drivers have to tame, and we say this at even our last race at Portland, the survival aspect, and we spoke to the drivers after the race about just trying to survive and feeling like that their endurance and their mental state and everything was on tap. And I feel like this is going to be another one of those tracks because you're just going so fast. You're trying to hit all your lines around these fast corners.
Andrew Adair Saunders, sorry, has a black flag. Looks like he came to pit road and now has a 40-second hold.
You'll have to go back and see what happens there.
You tell me, but we'll go back to that battle with Giacometti and Robert Grosser as they are continuing to battle each other on the racetrack. The track record here in the real world is actually held by an IndyCar. They count some. I guess the facility chooses to take testing into account. And back in 1987, and this is on their website, Michael Andretti was doing testing here, I'm guessing before they went to Long Beach, and some preseason testing, and he holds a track record here at a 106.050 lap, which was soundly beaten by Johnny Garrett, who qualified at a 59-second lap. So these cars here, a lot of times you don't see this necessarily because the IR05s, the DW12s, and the IR18s doesn't necessarily have the same amount of horsepower as some of those kart cars did back in the day. But you can obviously tell that these kart cars have a little bit
Our
better...
leader is backwards. Gary, we had to go to our leader. Johnny Garrett is stuck at the moment.
Oh, yeah, he is teetering literally on the edge. And I noticed this during practice, and I was going to wonder if anyone was going to get caught there. Let's check this again, as he's going to have to tow. Or maybe he can get a teammate to come by and give him a slight nudge. But, Lovegren in front of him kind of throws him off a little bit. He dips a wheel. And now he's in the middle of the track. Here comes Jan Hoffman, and he swings it, and he swings it, and he's on a pivot now. And the wheels that he needs to touch the ground are barely touching, and now none of the wheels are touching the ground that he needs to touch the ground. That is unfortunate.
We see that at several of these tracks that have these kind of unstable off-camber corners. There's a bit of a drop-off off the asphalt part of the track, and sometimes if the car is centered, unfortunately, over the one little bit there, it's tough to get it. So I think that he's got it back going again, but he has lost oodles of time, but no damage. So, okay, there's one crucial mistake that Johnny Garrett has made here, but he hasn't gotten himself into any trouble. There may be some floor damage, something that's not really helping the car handle as good as it once was. But if we see the leader have these problems, there's a good chance that other drivers during this race will have their own squabbles and have to deal with that situation. So if Johnny Garrett puts us behind him, keeps it going, he's still in this race.
And we're going to ride with Marshall Stanley now as he has moved up to second. So just getting ready to say, though, the aerodynamics, even in the road course configuration of these slightly newer Indy cars, about 20 years older than that 87. I think it was an 87 March he had here. He drove the March chassis, actually turned the lap in March of 87 in front of the leaders. That was Andrew Adair. Yeah, that was Andrew Adair Saunders. Goes off into the gravel and comes out right in front of the leaders, but they steer clear of him.
I was mentioning earlier on in the broadcast here, Gary, that part of the track right there, turn 4 and 5, I guess I imagine that is. That's the one part of the track that, you're flowing through all these corners so fast, and then it almost catches you off guard. Actually, when I was doing my pre-race lap turning here, that caught me out at least 5 and Adair Saunders is backwards again, right by pit in, going reverse down the straightaway. Yeah, it definitely...
AJ Foyt the fourth would be very proud of that.
Of course. I had that thought cross my mind, actually, as you're starting to say it. But, I mean, we got to get off the track, Andrew. Like, we can't just be rolling backwards down the front straightaway here. But on the same token, I was trying to say that turn 4, 5, and 6 complex up there actually is very almost off-putting when you have such a flow going. And
Marshall Stanley! He's off now. Now Jared Ray Hunt moves up to second.
Okay, now that one is coming off of that turn 4, 5, 6 complex. There is a little bit of a curving left-handed corner there that you seem like you could take a little faster, but actually it seems that Marshall might have lost it on the entry to the corner, which is kind of interesting because typically you would have some drivers go a little faster around the mid part of that corner and start to break loose. But Marshall, just a half spin, nothing too bad. He's still going again, but like I mentioned before, Gary, we have these leaders just have some issues, and it's going to happen to everyone at some point in the race, so let's keep a watch out for it.
Let's see. There is a clinching scenario that can happen today, according to race control. Jared secures a title if he wins with full bonus points, which he didn't get the pole. And Jan Hoffman finishes P3 or worse. If he finishes second, Hoffman scores 23, or he finishes second and Hoffman scores 23 points or less. So we will officially crown the champion 2 weeks from now when we go to Mexico City. However, unofficially, he might be able to clinch today. But Jan Hoffman now looking to try to at least extend this points championship. One more race to Mexico City. We're going to end this 12th season of the Classic IndyCar Series, sponsored by Sim Gaming Expo. We're going to end them on 2 inaugural races here. Inaugural race at Willow Springs and an inaugural race at Mexico City. Anyways, getting back to Michael Andretti turning the lap here. He turned a lap of 106.050 back in March of 87, and probably which was an 87 C March.
in the wall, Gary.
Oh, my goodness. Giacometti?
Every single time that we start talking about something else, Marshall is coming back onto the track right now. Marshall Stanley, there he goes. Looks like, I think something happened at the last corner. I'm not quite sure, because I know he was following Jared Ray Hutton. He might have just... That almost actually kind of looks like a mechanical failure of some sort, or an issue with the equipment. A little bit of a hop there and kind of skipped into the wall, almost Scott McLaughlin like at Barber in the real life IndyCar Series a few weeks ago, but he just kind of bounces off it and gets back on track again, but he loses quite a bit of time. I don't think there's even any damage on that front wing.
All right, gets lucky. Anyways, I'm trying to say that it was a Cosworth engine, I believe. So anyways, that is the extent of what I know about IndyCar running here. This race is supposed to be mimicking the 1991 AIS Los Angeles IndyCar Grand Prix that was won by Nicola Marzotto. He was in a 91 Lola powered by a Cosworth. So Nicola Marozzo, Marozzo, and it was a car that was actually owned by Antonio Ferrari, but not a member of that Ferrari family. He used to own, or still owns, Euro International Autosport, which fielded IndyCar teams in the 80s and 90s. And I still think they're around in WEC type of racing. But when I was researching that, I'm like, oh, Ferrari. Okay, so he's part of that family. And I'm like, well, let me double check that. And I guess the surname Ferrari in Italy is actually like as common as Smith here, maybe here in the United States. I don't know if that's true or not.
Well, that's interesting.
But I was told that, Ferrari is a very common surname in Italy. So if you're watching and you know information about surnames in Italy, tell us out in chat. See if how true or not that is. I don't know if it is or not. I can tell you there's a Smith curse at Indianapolis.
Allegedly.
A Smith has never qualified for the Indy 500, for real. Qualified and got bumped. But never took the green flag.
I was watching that Giacometti and Robert Grosser battle. It's still kind of going right now. Giacometti, last lap, managed to kind of scare Robert off the apex in this corner they're going through right now, the final corner. Grosser had to take to the dirt, and Giacometti took that spot. But I don't think this is over, because I do think they have similar pace. Perhaps Grosser was holding Giacometti up a little bit, but with all the mistakes people are making with these putting wheels off and just going off track a little bit, I don't think this battle's over yet. So it's really great to see, even with this smaller grid, some drivers continuing to fight it out here. Jan Hoffman still leads. Jared Ray Hutton doesn't seem to be closing too much on Jan Hoffman. But I will say that Johnny Garrett is running the fastest laps of the race right now. So not to commentators curse him once again, but if Garrett has gotten his flow back, and it seems that Garrett has the best flow, he just managed to get a little bit distracted from the incident with Blubgren before. If Garrett can continue this and just minimize any sort of mistakes, we could possibly see him make his way back towards the front again. He's about, I don't know, 7.5 seconds behind Marshall Stanley right now. So he can close that gap up, and I think both Stanley and Johnny Garrett are running faster than Giacometti and Grosser. So that'll be an interesting battle. Now let's talk about, are there any off-track penalties?
Oh, Stumi is off. Sorry, Stumi is off right in the turn 5 area as he just cuts through the corner. And that's the nice thing about no infield boundaries here. You could just pick right back up on the racetrack.
We have to start talking with all these drivers going off about this drive-through situation for off tracks, because we saw that in a couple of races earlier this season where drivers were getting a little bit close to that limit. So let's talk about that, Gary.
I do not actually, if you can see in the rules what the incident limit is. I can tell you this is an open setup race. I'll buy you some time. This is an open setup race. This is a 2.5 mile, 9 turn, so a very fast road course. We're doing 80 laps, 200 iRacing miles, 4 sets of tires, 1 in the car, 3 in the pits. 22 gallons of fuel in these cars, remember, versus the 18 of the IR18. 35 mile per hour pit road speed limit. We expect anywhere between a 2 and a 3 stopper.
I don't see any drive-through penalty situation for the off tracks or the incident limits in general, but I do see a 25x DQ limit.
Oh,
and I don't want to. I'm not putting any bad juju in the air. Please don't come yell at me for this situation. But there have been a lot of tires going off track, a lot of spins, a lot of contact. So from here, I would start thinking about, hey, I got about 58 laps left in this race. Let's try and keep my running off track limit a little bit down, because that may play a factor. I wouldn't be surprised if someone in this race gets close to the DQ limit. But right now, it seems that we've calmed down a bit. Sturm is in the pit lane. Maybe he got a little bit of damage from that rough ride he just got. Otherwise, that Giacometti-Grosser battle has sort of simmered down a bit. It looks like Giacometti is running a little bit faster laps now, trying to catch up to Jerry Ray Hutton and leaving Grosser behind a little bit. But let's just keep the cars on the track, boys.
Just keep it between the lines. Someone in chat says Ferrari is ranked as the 3rd most popular name in Italy. So I was correct in that aspect, that I did read that right. You would not think that Ferrari is like, the Smith of Italy, but or a Smith of Italy. I don't know, what's the 3rd most popular name here in the United States? Somebody chat GPD that one. We'll give it a proper comparison.
3rd most popular?
Yeah.
Is that what
Wood.
Definitely not. How about, I would probably venture a guess it might be like a Johnson or something like that.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
up there for sure. A lot of Johnsons. What's the 3rd most popular Indy 500 entry list name?
Well, because there's been so many of them, like an Unser or Mears, I guess.
I was
or an Unser or an Andretti or something like that. Yeah. Whittington.
Is that the 3rd most popular name in the U.S.? Is that what
Whittington? No. Whittington. Remember the 3 brothers. And they qualified for the 82 Indy 500. One of them was taken out in that wreck right at the start of the 500. Remember, they used to own Road Atlanta, and that's where they were involved in the drug smuggling biz in the 80s. And they would have the planes that were flying in from South America and the Caribbean land on the backstretch at Road Atlanta. And that's where they would unload their drugs, and they could be smuggled to the... Yeah, they got in trouble for that, by the way. But did you ever... I mean, you probably never wondered, because I'm older than you, but I always remember as a kid seeing the Whittington's cars, right? And they always had these great-looking cars, but they were not good racers, and they were not part of a good race team. I'm like, where are you getting this money from? Well, now you know.
This seems to ring a bell, Gary. I'm not... The only Whittington I actually don't think I know a single Whittington in my life, so I really can't contribute to this conversation. I apologize.
The Whittington family, yep. They had 3, the 3 brothers made the Indy 500. Regularly, it was like 2 of them, Bill and, I can't remember the other Whittington's name, but there was 2 of them typically that were in the lineup until they kind of they were in part of that Randy Lanier, John Paul, not Junior. Junior just got thrown in jail because I don't think he wanted to turn his dad in. He wanted to testify against his dad. But John Paul, Randy Lanier, the Whittingtons, there were a host of racers in the early 80s that were involved in the drug business. In fact, I think Randy Lanier, as we're watching Jared Ray Hutton pop the curbs here, I think Randy Lanier there's a documentary on him and his involvement in the drug trade on Netflix somewhere. Johnny Garrett, Purple Lap, 59.9.
That's a great lap from Johnny Garrett. And like I was mentioning before, he is probably the fastest car on the track right now. It's
by
just
far.
Unfortunate. It's unfortunate of that incident, but it's not over yet. And if you just keep pounding those laps down, and as I mentioned in previous broadcasts, the car does get better on the lighter fuel load. We're probably
Get that
about
off the screen.
7 to 9 laps or so away from our first pit stop here. So this is probably the prime time where the car is going to feel the greatest, and probably the easiest to drive. Tires are at their optimal temperature, fuel is low. As long as you hit your marks, that's where these fastest laps up start coming in. So not surprised to see that at all from Johnny Garrett. And I think he's hungry at this point. It's pretty much what he's trying to show to us right now.
And to sit one race out this season because of a penalty. So he definitely wants to end this season on a high note with only 2 races left. Here is your schedule for the remainder of this season. There it is. Next, after this, we're doing the 105 minutes of Mexico City. No lap number. We're actually going to be doing a timed race at Mexico City.
I actually participated in one timed race in the Classic IndyCar Series. It's been a long time, though, Gary. I want to say it was in the 2021 or 2022 range that we tried to do a time race. I believe we did it at Sebring, if I'm not mistaken. And, of course, Sebring is another short track, the Sebring shorter track version. So I think the lap times are around the 58, 59 second range. And I remember talking to Josh Chin about when the last lap would be and trying to figure out our fuel strategy to try and make sure we didn't have one extra lap where we'd run out of fuel. I believe Chin might have been leading that race.
John Hoffman on pit road, by the way.
And it was just difficult to try and figure out the time race scenario. It's not very normal to calculate your fuel based on time rather than laps. And if you have the leader cross the start finish to start the checker flag with 5 seconds left to go in the session, that could change everything. So that'll be an interesting one for sure.
And the Mexico City has a oval configuration, right?
That I do.
The Indy Next Oval Series will be using that configuration here in the next couple of weeks on their Top Split broadcast coming up on Tuesday night.
Oh, Gary, I'm smacking myself in the head right now. One of our chat people said that Williams is the third.
I knew someone in chat could come through. Williams makes sense.
How did I not know that? That's like a duh. Like it's not the most popular for sure, but I know at least 5 to 10 Williams that I've met over the course of my life. So good call there in the chat. Really like to see that. Oh, Andrew Aiken's off track, Gary. He's doing the same thing Marshall Stanley did, and
he had a toe, and we'll go back and see what happened.
Just happened to be riding on board with him, and I saw he pulled the exact same move Marshall Stanley did in the last corner.
Very sweeping corners here. Very reminiscent of Riverside, the old Riverside site. He just drops a wheel. He just, almost like the brakes stopped working on him. That might have been a mechanical, actually. I never saw him stop. And then he toes.
I think he automatically towed himself. That looked very similar to the Marshall Stanley situation. That looked even more mechanical, if I'm using air quotes, as Marshall Stanley's incident. So unfortunate that's going to put an end to Andrew Aiken's day for sure. But Andrew Aiken's a pretty quiet and clever sort of driver, and he doesn't really chime into the group as much. But I did read a message from him earlier saying he loved this track, and Aiken's not our typical top 5 road course runner. So to see some driver in the series actually say, hey, this track was kind of fun, it's really a shame to see that unfortunately it doesn't seem like he's going to be able to finish this one. So Jen Hoffman has come out about 10 seconds behind Johnny Garrett. I think Jared Ray Hutton has made his way down pit road as well. But Johnny Garrett is, ever since that incident he had, he's closed about 7 seconds on Jared Ray Hutton. I believe that might be a little less. It might be like 5.5 seconds back to Jared Ray Hutton. But Garrett is coming, and it's going to be exciting to see how close
Stanley
he can get
on pit road.
If he winds up getting up to the podium, that'd be great.
Yeah, here comes everyone to pit road. Hutton on pit road, Giacometti on pit road, Stanley Garrett, Marshall Stanley, Johnny Garrett on pit road. That is going to allow Jan Hoffman just to stay on out. He will go ahead of all them. But just in front of him is Robert Groscher, and he has not come to pit road yet. So we're awaiting Robert's very first stop here. And their next stop, it looks like a two-stopper, Andrew. Their next stop's going to be very quick. I mean, they're only going to need 20 laps worth of fuel to get to the end on their very next stop.
Yeah, Marshall Stanley had a little bit of a long pit stop, probably had some damage from that off-course excursion. Johnny Garrett's only about 2.5 seconds behind him. So Garrett can already see Giacometti and Marshall Stanley in his sights. So depending on where Robert Grosser comes out, this could be a pretty feisty-looking battle. Garrett may actually jump him. Andrew Aiken is back on the track again. It looks like Giacometti had to navigate his way around him. So I guess really not quite sure how Aiken managed to come back on the track after all that damage. But, wow, Marshall Stanley gets a little bit loose over the
Robert Grosser, black flag coming to pit road. 40-second hold for the man who came to pit road with the lead, and that is going to hurt him looking for his third straight podium finish.
Yeah, when you were talking about the black flag from Andrew Adair Saunders before, that was also a speeding penalty, and I think Grosser has also managed to speed. I think the pit speed limit here is quite low, right, Gary?
32. Let me double check. 35 miles per hour.
That's a painful one.
Yeah, that is a painfully slow.
Not meant for these cars, and that just proves more and more what kind of track configuration these cars are the cars that race around here are meant to be on. So it definitely catches you out when you are used to slowing down to a certain speed and hitting the brakes a certain amount when you enter the pit lane on certain tracks that you know what the speed limit is. So if it's very, very low, it will definitely catch you off guard saying, man, this feels slow when you're entering the pit lane.
Inside, Jan Hoffman looking to take a peek into one on Jared Ray. Not there. Right in front of them is Robert Grosser, who's coming off of pit road, trying to stay out of everyone's way. But a stab for the lead going into one, and it wasn't able to fall through. Championship implications right here between these two drivers. Jared Ray Hutton looking to clinch today. Jan Hoffman needs a good finish and to be close to Jared Ray Hutton to make the championship survive to the final round of Mexico City.
You know, and if you were running as spread out as these drivers were for the last 20, 25, 30 laps or so, when you have a driver behind you, especially if there's a at a pit situation where the tires aren't fully warmed up yet, this is the nervy time where okay, I'm able to basically keep my strategy and my pace going and everything like that. But now that you have a driver around you, it's like, oh, I got to drive a little bit more perfectly. Hoffman's coming back on him right now.
Gonna go around the outside. Oh, he crowds him just a little bit going to the one.
This is the exact same battle we saw at Giacometti and Grosser earlier on in this race, and these two are going at it. I don't think Hoffman's ready to get this one up yet.
Still watching them run them down. They're at the top of the hill. Elements of this track, very much like, I would say, a little Mid-Ohio out there with the elevation changes. I'd also say you took a Sonoma setup and practiced out there with a Sonoma setup. And you said it looks like Sonoma in the way that I guess the track is, kind of set up graphically. It looks like Sonoma. But when you got out there, you realize it doesn't race anything like Sonoma.
Exactly, Gary. It has that kind of swervy uphill feeling that you see in turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 2, 3, 3A, whatever that corner is, going up the hill there. That's what the turn 4, 5 complex looks like. But yeah, with these long sweeping corners on the backside of the track, it does not feel very Sonoma at all. And actually, when I was running my Sonoma setup, I ran out of gear, so I'm just kind of on the chip in 6th gear, just going around the rest of the lap. But at the same time, it's really the technical fun part of the track to drive is that uphill portion there. But yeah, very Sonoma background kind of feel to it. Even though that little tight squiggly bit at the middle part of the track there is very Sonoma-like. But yeah, I think Mid-Ohio is probably a little too flat to consider as a similarity to this. But Watkins Glen's got some nice sweeping corner kind of vibe to this that I agree with.
Oh, Hoffman dips a wheel going off the final corner down the main straight, trying to maintain the gap and not lose any more distance to Jared Ray Hutton, our leader. Oh, extra lap traffic in the way, going to the one. Two Williams have, and we're not talking Formula One Williams. We're talking two drivers with the surname Williams have qualified for the Indy 500 in the past.
I'm racking my brain now. Don't tell me. I'm going to come up with it before the end of the broadcast.
I had to do a Google search on it, so I don't think I would not known them by name, probably.
You know, we're watching this lead here, Gary. The Giacometti, Marshall Stanley, and Johnny Garrett all very, very close to each other as well at this point. And this is going to turn into an interesting scenario over the next 5 to 10 laps as well, especially there's one lapped car up front. I believe it looks like Stum maybe. But Garrett's flying around this track right now. And, you know, Marshall Stanley is also quite quick, and Giacometti's just been hanging in there a little bit. But the three of these cars are all going to meet each other before long.
Here comes Stanley. He's all over the attenuator of Giacometti.
And if there's anything that's rejuvenating for a driver like Johnny Garrett that's just had an incident where he's kind of embarrassed himself teetering on the side of the track, it's saying, wow, the podium is directly ahead of me. And it's like, okay, now it's a matter of me trying to just take my time and see what exactly happens as we see Stanley gets by Giacometti there. And we'll start to set sail. But before long, both of these drivers are going to have to deal with Johnny Garrett.
I think Marshall Stanley did edited the opening video for the Elite Racing League's Indy 500 that I did this Thursday. So I believe that was him that did it. So if it was, great work on short notice. Oh, big twitch by Marshall. He caught it, but it's going to open the door for Giacometti to attack.
Your fault.
Yeah, it was.
Started talking about it, but look at that.
That was on me. On me. Stum stays out of the way. Here comes Giacometti. Garrett Stanley.
That last corner is just like, even watching it from how we're watching this race here, Gary, it just looks so much fun. There's like a little mini bank there that kind of like, if you're a little bit off camber a bit, that's what I think is sending Aiken and Marshall Stanley off the track into the wall there. But if you hit it just right, it looks like it would just kind of set the car up perfectly for like the mid corner. And
right,
as a driver, that seems like a fun part of the track to hit. Like, let me just hit that banking exactly perfectly, pitch my car a little bit to get down the straightaway, and then bang right off there down the front straightaway. That looks like just a very fun corner as a driver.
Another racetrack that this resembles, but not in the sim, and I don't think it'll ever be in the sim.
Grosser,
we got
Grosser hit the dirt on the last corner and kind of did a Andrew Dare Saunders down the front straightaway, a little bit of a spin. He did a Danny Sullivan spin and back going again.
Oh, he dropped the wheel. Yep. Dropped more than a wheel, dropped all four of them, and he came back on. And yeah, the reason why he had to come back on is he dropped the wheel and he was going to go to pit road, and he turned it around. Nice catch. But another track that this resembles is Riverside. Riverside, also on the other side of the San Gabriel Mountains from here. In fact, Riverside, Ontario, and Fontana are not too far apart from one another on that side of the San Gabriel Mountains. But Riverside no longer there. IndyCar did run there for the early 80s. And again, very much middle of the desert. Very, very dirty runoff areas, right on the dirt. Twisty, but it was really known for, other than the snake and the long straightaway, there was a final corner that was very sweeping, like the one that we have here, that really set up the rest of the lap. Riverside was about a mile longer. It was a 3.3 mile road course versus a 2.5 here.
Garrett's coming to the inside of Giacometti now, who kind of did a little bit of a glide.
Oh, yes. Flips those corners. Oh, drops a wheel. They're still side by side.
Off of turn 6, I think Giacometti kind of had to do a little bit of a lift, or he might have gotten a four-wheel jump there. And that just allowed Garrett to carry so much speed down that backside of the back straightaway and kind of over-undered him a little bit nicely down the front straightaway. But then, yeah, overcooked turn 1, and that was the end of that. So You could definitely tell Garrett's
Oh!
going to be the car here.
Garrett clipped the entire corner there, going to the dirt, trying to make that corner shorter so he can get a better run on Andrea. And he's still there, but he desperately wants this pass. Not a lot of places to pass here, Andrew.
No, definitely not. It's all about making the mistake, and I think Giacometti's just going to say, you know what, you're faster, go ahead. Yep, he just kind of pulls over, lets him go. But we're talking about those off tracks before, and I definitely saw at least 2 from Johnny Garrett that lap. So they're going to start racking up for everyone. Are we able to keep track of these?
Not until the checkered flag falls. I'll get to know the count, but I don't have a running counter right now. So if we see...
Yeah, we'll definitely have to check in on that before we do our interviews, because there's just cars touching... you can even see going around the track, there's tire tracks and all these little dirt flat areas here. So a lot of people have been off in many different spots.
Giacometti trying to preserve a possible third-place finish in the championship. So seeing the bigger battle at hand, letting Johnny Garrett go by. Johnny, unfortunately, won't be able to compete in every single race this season because he had to sit one out due to penalty. So he's not involved in the championship as tight as Giacometti. Stanley on a partial schedule as well. So the only drivers that Giacometti is losing ground to are Jan Hoffman and Jared Ray Hutton in first and second, and they're still together on the racetrack, only separated by less than a second and a half.
Yeah, both these drivers have great pace, and it's good to see that they're up here racing together. And Jared Ray Hutton's the only one who really hasn't made the big mistake so far. We saw Hoffman maybe that early pit stop has hurt him a little bit, but in general, it seems that Hutton is, other than a couple of slides here and there, has kept it clean for the most part, and Hoffman's just got to try and see where he can get that advantage, especially as since he pitted early, he'll have the less fuel and a better situation to come back at him later in the race.
If you're just joining us, this is P1's coverage of Round 7 of Season 12 of the Sim Gaming Expo Classic IndyCar Series, coming to you from Willow Springs International Raceway for the first time on the channel. For the inaugural running of the BJ manufactured IndyCar Grand Prix, we've now completed 44 of 80 laps, just past the halfway. If you're enjoying P1's coverage of today's race, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next race. Subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, actually, so don't miss out on the next race, because the next race for us here is later tonight. Tonight, Round 7, Season 4 of the Vote of Indy Oval Series from the proper version of Phoenix Raceway. Coverage starts at 8 p.m. So we're racing in the desert all day long today here on P1.
I'm still thinking about those. I don't think there's any recent Williams Indy 500 drivers. Yeah, okay. So I'm not going to know who they are. So I'm going to have to wave the white flag here.
So according to Carl Williams qualified and started in the Indy 500 6 times from 66 to 70 and 72. And his best finish was a top 10 in 1970. When Al Unser Sr. won his first race. And then there was another Williams, very much a name of this time, Doc Williams, qualified 4 times in the late 30s and into the 40s, kind of in the war years, the post-war years, 36, 40, 41, and 48, it says. The best starting spot of 5th and 41, so started on the second row. The wide line that Jared's taken through that final corner. I mean, he is taking a fine line up against the white line there. He dips a wheel. That's going to be day done, or at least the lead given up. Straightaway definitely is enough straightaway there. They get up to 10,000 RPMs going into turn 1. On cars that aren't made to race on road courses. They
always turn left a little bit better, Gary. Sorry about that. I was talking and I was on the wrong button.
They're always, everyone calls these things pigs on road courses, and you can definitely see why with the way that on your screens that you're watching. You just kind of see they should be more nimble, but they're not. And it's just the reason why that this era of this IndyCar was really meant to turn left primarily, instead of left and right. And they just kind of adapted the car. And this is the car they took in the unification when the schedules came together in 2008.
One thing that I picked up on, and I raced in this series last season, and I had the best season that I've ever had in the Classic IndyCar Series. I for quite a while there, I wasn't finishing anything lower than top 5, which is very, very unusual for me. But one thing I really, really tried to focus on, just don't push the car. The car doesn't want to be driven. You have to, the car drives you, basically. So the more you push and the more you give it, the more twitchy and the more unsettled that it is. And just taking that mindset and saying, man, I messed up that corner. As a driver, you want to make the next 4 corners better to make up for what you lost. But you have to put it behind you and just drive the car how it wants to be driven. Because once you start to push it, that's the end of it. So that led to the success that I seemed to have last season. And yeah, you're right. They are kind of pigs to drive, but if you can drive it in such a way that the car wants to be driven, then that's how you're successful.
Yeah, Paul Tracy had a very colorful name for these cars. The second word being box.
Yes. He certainly did.
As we watch Johnny Garrett get around Joe Hutchins. Hutchins back in 8th position, now down 3 laps.
It seems that we still only have 3 retirements. We have Kevin Lovegren, Andrew Dare Saunders, Mike Wayne Robinson. They're out of this race, but everyone finishing now will get a top 10. So even with that big calamity pileup that we saw there on lap 3, that actually seems to have stringed the field out a bit. Franz Josef Stum is spinning right now. I believe that might be the last corner. He's going to wait for Andrew Aiken to come by and rejoin.
And get that debris off the tires. And then there's the leader right behind him.
Yeah, and Jen Hoffman very, very close behind still, not letting Jared Ray Hutton just drive off to another road course win. I think he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that he does not, but Hoffman is on a little bit different fuel strategy than Jared Ray, so these are the laps that are really going to count for Jan Hoffman, especially if he's going to be in the pits for maybe slightly more fuel than Jared Ray if he does pit earlier.
Yeah, there's only 3 laps between the two. Jared pitted at lap 31. Jan pitted at lap 28. If you get to, well, we're at lap 50 now, coming up to lap 50, and they could pit down. They might be able to get home if they were to pit right at 50, but I would imagine they're going to try to get closer to the 60 side of that count before making a final stop.
Right about that.
And is there any benefit, though? You see Jan Hoffman with enough pace and is close enough. Do you think an undercut's possible? Maybe pit before Jared Ray and then come out the clean racetrack and then just push, and see maybe if he can get Jared Ray when Jared Ray decides to come to pit road.
You know, I speculated wrong for the longest time about the overcut being the potential strategy, but I was proven wrong in the last race. So I do think it's possible that we do see an undercut work here too. We're excited to see what's going to transpire here in the next 35 laps or so.
Just trying to build up a drama of a 13-car race.
and there has been plenty of drama.
There has been, yes.
On the same token. So these drivers are definitely putting on a show for us today, and they're going to show us what it's all about.
Let's ride with Jared Ray and just see how fast this is really a fast race course. Full speed in the 1, left-hander. A little bit of a straight, then a sweeping uphill right. He feathers it, and then he gets hard on the throttle again. One of the more slower corners, uphill. This kind of looks like turn 1 at Sonoma right here. This is turn 2 at Sonoma right here. And down off the hill, car gets light. Downhill, this very Sonoma-esque right through here before they get to the old, kind of the turn that leads onto the old carousel. And now they're going to be on the power for a long time. Very fast portion of the race course right here. This turn doesn't start getting sharper until now. Now they're going to have to start, yeah. Downshift a little bit. Oh, car in front drops a wheel. Now back on the straightaway. So just like that, I mean, a minute lap. That's a minute lap in real IndyCar racing basically is Long Beach. Long Beach is about a minute for a lap.
Yeah, we were just racing at Portland a few weeks ago, and it's about the same kind of lap time that we see there, except Portland has a little bit more of that technical bit to it, especially in the middle part of the lap.
Festival curves, yeah.
Yeah, so once we start going around the Big Bend and everything like that, we start seeing that the drivers are not really putting their legs out until the back straightaway, which we always saw a little bit of contact and a little bit of issue there in our Portland race a few weeks back.
And these turns all have names. Turn 1 is the Castrol Corner. Turn 2, it's called the Rabbit's Ear. I guess if you do look at the map, what we do, turn 2, I guess does kind of look like a rabbit's ear, I guess. Turns 3 and 4, they call the Omega. Doubt it's named after Kenny Omega. Turn 5, no name. Turn 6 is the Monroe Ridge. Turn 7 is the Repass Pass. Turn 8 is sometimes called the Sweeper. And turn 9, which seems fitting for a perfect name there, just call it turn 9.
Yep, no one's had an issue there yet, except perhaps Marshall Stanley and Andrew Aiken
It's
today.
now the Stanley Curve.
Yes, exactly. You know, when I do my go-karting at the World Championship, we visit these tracks across the world here, and sometimes we have to come up with clever names. And we come up with all sorts of things like Death Corner and like tabletop and things like that. So
right.
It wouldn't be unusual for some of the drivers at these circuits to name corners after certain moments or certain people as they tend to be good or bad at those corners. So I like Stanley Curve.
You would think if the Love Bug was filmed here, they would have the Herbie Straight or something like that.
Perhaps it's just unofficial, Gary.
Okay. Yeah. And now, if you have been watching IndyCar racing over the last couple of seasons on TV, you probably made notice of the Thermal Club. And the Thermal Club, yes, out in the desert, but entirely in a different direction.
Actually, out on the other side of the desert.
Yeah,
right?
that Thermal Club is south of, way south of here, about 3 hours south of here. A lot closer to where they have Coachella, actually. If you ever played Grand Theft Auto and here come the leaders of pit road, and Jared Ray coming to pit road first. But if you ever played Grand Theft Auto and out there in Sandy Shores, that's kind of where out where Thermal is, out near where the version of Sandy Shores was based upon, the Salton Sea. Final stop for Jared Ray Hutton to try to get closer to this championship in his rookie campaign here in the Classic IndyCar Series. Down off the jacks, new sets of tires, and just enough fuel to get to the end, and he's down on the way. Final stop completes. So he did not want to be a victim of the undercut. Johnny Garrett, purple lap. So now, do we see how long does Gian stay out? Does he answer immediately or come to pit road now?
It's definitely an interesting pit strategy. I'm not really sure what Jan Hoffman has up his sleeve here, but it is quite possible to see him just run the car out as long as he can, especially as he was the first driver to come in. That could be an overcut situation that we were talking about before.
Well, he is staying out, so he's not going to answer right away. Johnny Garrett putting down a purple lap on his 23rd lap of the stint, which really tells me at this point, and here's the situation. Let me get the map here off the screen, and we'll bring back the BJ Manufacturing. We do need to talk about BJ Manufacturing here momentarily, but here are the weather conditions. And I don't think you would think out in the desert we would have more heat than this. It's only 86 on the track and 75 on the ambient, so there's virtually no tire degradation going on out here. Some, but not much.
I think that just based on perhaps maybe there's a little bit of a breeze coming off the coast there and reaching the mountains. We never know exactly what the weather is going to do in this in this series, especially. But yeah, you'd expect it to be a little hotter. Here comes Jan Hoffman down pit road. The very, 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 very slow pit road.
Today's inaugural running of the IndyCar Grand Prix from Willow Springs International is proudly sponsored by BJ Manufacturing. BJ Manufacturing Company provides high-quality machining, welding, and fabrication work in Riverside, just south of here on the other side of the San Gabriel Mountains, about an hour and a half away. To learn more, check out their links in the description. That is BJ Manufacturing, season-long sponsor of all of our races. Want to thank them for being a big part of the Sim Gaming Expo Classic IndyCar Series. Also do want to thank George and Zaldo and the fine folks at the Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. The Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming technology under one roof. Join us September 18th through 20th in Chicagoland at the Schaumburg Convention Center to try out the latest gear from the biggest brands in the industry, meet your favorite streamers, and celebrate your passion for simulation with our incredible community. Don't miss out. To learn more, to get your tickets now, go to simgamingexpo.com. Tickets are on sale, and be a part of simulation gaming history today.
Well, we do see that Jan Hoffman has come out ahead of Jared Ray Hutton, but the tires are going to take about a lap to warm up around here. So Hoffman is in the little bit of a danger spot right now.
Overcut worked.
Yeah, and I think it got a little bit dicey for Jan Hoffman coming through the backside of the track there, and I think Hutton's going to have a little bit of a draft here, and like we were mentioning before, very, very difficult to pass. So it's all about who makes the least amount of mistakes going forward here.
And Marshall Stanley's in the neighborhood too. Actually, there's Jan, there's Jared, and there's Marshall. So he's in the neighborhood. So this could be a three-car battle very shortly. Johnny Garrett is 3 seconds ahead of him, but unfortunately when he does come to pit road, he will cycle well behind this battle. But we got a three-car battle now for the top three spots.
Yeah, I believe that both Marshall Stanley and Johnny Garrett still have to pit, so that Marshall Stanley will fall behind.
That's true. You're right. He's 26 laps into his current stint. Marshall just up 31. Yeah, lap 31.
It was basically just going to be these two drivers going at it toe-to-toe right now, but this does give an opportunity for Johnny Garrett to close a little bit on that gap in between second and third there. It was sitting at about 28 seconds when we were just talking before, but if these two continue to battle and give Johnny Garrett an opportunity to just be by himself on track and everything like that, that's putting a bigger gap between him and Marshall Stanley for P3, and it also is letting Johnny Garrett run away a little bit with those purple laps he was doing before.
Man, doing that on old tires and then about 4 or 5 laps ago. The light tanks, old tires. When does he come to pit road? Coming to 20 to go here very shortly.
Yeah, I think Johnny Garrett will probably be in within the next 3-4 laps, maybe even this lap now. Jared Ray Hutton had a great run down the hill there, but no really place for him to carry that momentum at all.
He gets a wheel there. Tries a brute force, but again thinks better of it. Tucks back in line. Going to take a wide line through this corner. Careful not to drop a wheel.
Yeah, and we always see Jan Hoffman. It always seems to be a little bit slow on the uptick for these races, but by the time we get to the race end and after we do 60 laps around this place, Hoffman is very much...
drops a wheel.
Hoffman is very much warmed up and ready to go here. So this battle will go all the way to the end, I think.
Ride with Jared Ray. Tries to run down Jan Hoffman. Jan, winner at the first race this season at Michigan, ending a long dry spell. Jared Ray has a good middle of the season. He won a couple there. Just to review the season in general here for you. We started off at Michigan with Jan Hoffman, then we went to New Hampshire. Julian Altina won that race. Then Jared Ray won the next two at Montreal and Portland. Logan Simmons at Las Vegas, and then Julian won again at Homestead, Miami. And the last two races of the year will be on road courses, which tends to be Jared Ray's strength, with 2 wins already on road courses this season.
We see that Jan Hoffman now retakes the lead as Johnny Garrett has decided to come in, lap 60. So we're on lap 61 now. Jared Ray gets a little bit of dirt there, runs off track. We're still concerned about what these drivers' incident limits are sitting at, of course.
It's still they seem to be clipping at the top of that hill there, right with the wall. They seem to be dipping a wheel into the dirt there on the inside. I don't know, maybe they don't have strict track limits here. I don't know.
Once you come down the hill and you start to get a little bit light over that higher part of the track there, that's where the cars seem to behave the most sketchy, right? So if Jared Ray comes down a little too fast and goes over that crest a little bit, exiting, I guess that's going to be turn 7. If he doesn't get such a good run through there, that's going to upset the car a little bit. But if Hoffman has a bad run through there, then Hutton can come up with a big head of steam going down to that final corner there. There is some traffic up ahead, 3 cars ahead of these 3 leaders. Funny to see that 10 cars on this track, and there are 3 lap cars up ahead of these guys.
We're riding still with Jared Ray as Hoffman goes a little wide there at the top of the hill.
Yeah, so they make this left, and then the next corner, that right-hander the car gets a little light there, and you can see the car wide.
And he's forgiven. He gets a little contact. There was damage on the front nose. It snaps back into place, and he lost a ton of track position.
And that's exactly what, I don't want to say I'm glad to see that, but that just shows the two differences between the cars as they go over that crest, is that one car might have a little bit more speed coming down than the other, and if one gets a better run over that crest than the other one, that's what changes the car dynamics. And if you're able to get straightened up for the little bit of that rest of that right-hander there going down the last straightaway.
Again, not a lot of opportunities to pass here. You can hear on the in-car, and you can see with there's Stumi to the inside as they put him another lap down. But you can see from the driver inputs, and you can hear from the in-car, they are on the throttle. For a road course, they are on the throttle at 100% an awful lot around this place.
And that lap, Hutton does get over that crest a little bit better and starts to close that gap on Hoffman a little bit. Not going to be able to do anything in this final corner, but if he has a better final corner, he could run Hoffman down the front straightaway.
Willow Spring is the oldest still operating road course in the United States. You would think, hey, I thought that would be like Watkins Glen or something like that. Well, they were racing through the town of Watkins Glen, but they weren't racing at Watkins Glen. Oh, big drop for the wheels for Huffman. Oh, and Jared Ray Hutton goes wide. He had a big run. I think he saw an opportunity and just outran the corner. Top of the hill again. Drops the wheel again right there at the Willow Springs wall.
And another off track for both these guys. So we don't know. We were mentioning before, we can't tell what the incident limit is for these drivers, but it's every lap. It seems that you're running off track a little bit. So these numbers are going to start to add up after a while.
Imagine them having to do a drive-through penalty on the last lap.
Yeah, that's definitely something that scares you as a driver, especially when you find that it's so easy to run off the track like that. Phillip Island is notorious for that. Just those long sweeping corners, and you just find one blade of grass that gives you an off-track penalty there. And next thing you know, 25 laps later, you racked up 10 off-track penalties, and you don't even really know how you did it.
And that's one thing, if iRacing was consistent across the board, and I think they are getting that way with track limits, but there's some tracks that you can take full advantage of very liberal track limits, and then there's other tracks that are very strict. I want to say like Red Bull Ring is pretty liberal with the track limits, if I remember right, especially with turn 1 at the top of the hill.
That seems to make sense, yeah.
Coda, I think, is pretty. Yeah, Coda is pretty liberal. Road America is pretty liberal, but then I'm trying to think of a pretty strict track limit track that we've been to. They tend to be the newer ones.
I mean, even Watkins Glen you can consider a little bit too penalty heavy. Just there's so many of those fast corners down, and as you get to the boot there, that seems to upset the officials there going off track a little bit. Just touch like one blade of grass, and you're like, oh, okay, there's an off track, But yeah, and at this point of the race right now, we're watching these two go for the lead here, and it is very, very kind of nervy times for both these guys, especially if the car is feeling a little bit twitchy at certain points. You can easily run off and get yourself a bit of a slow exit off one corner, and then you suddenly see the guy behind you really, really going for it. I think Jared Ray Hutton is probably the faster car of these two. So once he does get the opportunity to pass Hoffman, he will start to run away a little bit, but it is a big haul to get by the guy that you're chasing.
And as they say, catching's one thing, passing is another. And on a racetrack that we've already showed you today on multiple opportunities, multiple occasions, it is very difficult to pass here because there's very few passing zones, first of all. Second of all, you're on the throttle so much that really it takes a mistake from the driver in front of you, which we've seen plenty of today, like right there, dropping a wheel, coming off the corner.
We were talking at Portland how these drivers are probably going to be mentally and physically drained afterwards. I have a feeling we're going to have the same sort of attitude from the drivers that we talked to after this race is complete here. That's a really great run down the hill by Jared Ray Hutton there. He's going to get over the hill, gets a little bit loose. Took a little bit too big of a bite out of the apple there, but he's as close as he's ever been to Hoffman.
And while Garrett, Stanley, Giacometti well behind this battle. In fact, Giacometti just in front of this battle, to be honest with you. There's Giacometti. He is fifth position, trying to stay as the last car on the lead lap. Marshall Stanley in fourth, Johnny Garrett in third. This battle still rages at the point. Just over 10 to go.
At this point, if you're Jan Hoffman, all you're trying to do is keep the car on the track. Don't do anything crazy or different. Just keep your rhythm and your wits about you, and don't even look in the mirror. Just keep driving the line that you could drive, and you could drive very well. That's put you in this spot. There's no need to do anything flashy. Just drive your own pace and keep the car pointed straight, and that's exactly how you're going to get yourself a good finish here. It does seem like Jared Ray Hutton does get through that last corner a little bit better than Hoffman does, and if the straightaway was another 50 to 100 meters, he might be able to get on the inside and maybe threaten or throw Hoffman off his line a little bit, but it doesn't seem like that's the case really right now. So Hoffman just has to keep doing what he's doing. He's got more traffic up ahead of him. That might be Giacometti just put him a lap down. I believe that might be Hutchings, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, and he's all over that. He goes wide now as they go through the Willow Springs corner. And Hutchins just ducks out of the way. And now Hutton has to reset a little bit.
Yeah, but over that crest, Hutton did get a little bit of a run, but he can't do anything really in this last corner unless he wants to throw it up the inside. But these are the two leaders in the championship, so they really got to watch out for each other in a sense too. And as long as Hutton stays where he is, he should still have a good gap there going into the last round.
Maybe Hoffman gets a little bit of an aid of the draft and the pull from Giacometti. A little bit, possibly. That helps him maintain that pace on the straightaway. Giacometti, at this point in the race, he can see the end of the race at hand. He can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and he does not want to go down the lap. So he's going to try to push for all it's worth to stay on the lead lap. And right now, I don't think either one of these drivers, Hoffman or Hutton, are in the mood to show mercy. And they will put him down a lap if they can.
Yeah, Hoffman definitely had a moment there at the top of the hill, but he gathers it up as Hutton has a mistake on the bottom of the part of the hill. So they maintain their gap for now.
Giacometti gets out of the way. Now the top four on the lead lap. That's Hoffman, Hutton, Garrett, and Stanley. Well, Johnny Garrett's got to be kicking himself a little bit. There's still some time to race here. But he is well behind this battle unless these two race each other a little extraordinarily hard. Off-track themselves or retire themselves. Garrett might be kicking himself by getting beached. I can't even call that getting beached. What do you call that? Getting...
Seesawed?
Seesawed? Yeah.
I'm looking for a word as well, and I can't come up with one.
Getting fulcrumed wrong or something? I don't know. It's just...
That's a good word. Word of the day. One of our comments in the chat there is beautiful cars, beautiful scenery. That is very much in play here. It's definitely beautiful scenery. I would enjoy driving any sort of race car around here.
This is one of iRacing's newer tracks, by the way. So this is a fairly recent scan and part of their graphical engine. So they did a pretty good job here, I think. This is the first time I got a chance to see this racetrack, too.
You know, I used to go-kart in Southern California at Fontana at the go-kart track there before it was unceremoniously destroyed. But even racing go-karts around there, it's not the same thing as racing a car, obviously, but just racing around and seeing the mountains in the distance and everything, it definitely has a nice vibe to it where you can really, really enjoy all the scenery around you. Southern California is a great place to really, really take in that kind of stuff.
And yeah, I mean, this just goes down to another long line of racetracks that with great scenery. Jared Ray Hutton actually falls back a little bit, almost about a second behind this battle now. Think of all those European tracks in the mountains. Think about Fuji at the base of Mount Fuji. Think about Motegi built in the mountain. Number of racetracks with the scenery, the background in this world.
Yeah, last lap, Jared Ray Hutton did get a little bit squirrely at the top of the hill, and that allowed Hoffman to pull out a little bit of a gap. And like we were mentioning before, all Hoffman has to do is just keep doing what he's doing and don't push the car too much, because that is what's going to get you the win today, because you know he can't pass you on merit. You got the same pace. It's all going to come down to who makes the least amount of mistakes. And right now Hutton's gotten a little bit disjointed with his rhythm a little bit, and that's cost him a little bit, but I still think he is the faster car. So I think he will close that gap up before the race is over.
Jan Hoffman, 4 career wins here in the Classic IndyCar Series. Looking for number 5, which would tie him with Michele Constantini, the Ferrari esports team driver. And would put him actually 2 behind, actually 2 behind. Friend of yours, old 007 Henry Bennett.
Yeah, we miss seeing Henry around for sure, but you know, whenever Henry races with us, it's a really good time and always one to beat there. So hopefully we see Henry back on the grid for the next season, which I believe they're starting to put together.
Seven to go as we are halfway through this lap. So 6.5 laps to go. Jan Hoffman trying to survive this championship battle for one more race before we go to Mexico City for the very first time in 2 weeks. And with that said, if you're just joining us, you are watching P1's coverage around 7 of 8 as a peer of mine in the broadcasting, sim racing broadcasting side of things, likes to say the penultimate round of season 12 of the Sim Gaming SO Classic IndyCar Series, coming to you from Willow Springs International Raceway for the inaugural running of the BJ manufactured IndyCar Grand Prix. Currently, Jan Hoffman leads with about 6 laps to go. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on the next race. And again, the next race for us here on the Classic IndyCar Series is Sunday, May 10th for Championship Sunday and round 8 of season 12 of the Sim Gaming Expo Classic IndyCar Series. The teams of drivers head to Mexico City for the inaugural running of the CIS Mexico Grand Prix. We will crown our season 12 championship, or champion. Coverage starts at 2 p.m. Eastern time on May 10th. Don't miss the action as the season continues here in 2 weeks here on P1. Of course, there's other championships in play. There is the Master Class. We have not talked about that. Kind of just a different type of championship for some of the older drivers. And, of course, we have the overall championship. And we'll bring everybody up to speed on that when we get to Mexico City. But right now, 5 laps ago, now coming to 4 laps ago.
And Hutton has closed the gap a little bit, but he, like I said, he was making a few mistakes for the last few laps. So now it's just a matter of closing up and pouncing at the right time. If there's going to be any time that Hutton's going to want to take this lead, it's going to be pressuring Hoffman into a mistake. But there's a little bit of breathing room right now for Hoffman. He's been very, very consistent, hitting his marks perfectly, and this has really been working out for the Vortex driver, getting to the end of this race here and holding off the driver who's probably just a tick faster right now. Hutton's going to close this gap up, and we'll hopefully see a nice, exciting 2 or 3 laps left in this race.
At 0.5 of a second, you said that a little bit of breathing room. That's 0.5 of a second in an Indy car might as well be 5 miles. I mean, that's a pretty big lead. And 0.5 of a second is some pretty comfortable breathing room. Not enough to make a mistake and to survive it, maybe to survive it, but certainly not it's one of those situations where you don't expect the car to be sent up the inside on you at 0.5.
Yeah, and of course Hoffman was a tenth faster that lap. He's getting very, very close to the 59-second range. So Hutton's got to pick up the pace a little bit, but as we were mentioning before, it does take just a little tiny mistake to reset things here. So it's just a matter of getting your wits about you and just do your best to close that gap. It looks like Hutton's closed it a tiny bit this lap. I expect he'll have a faster lap than Hoffman this time around, depending how the last corner goes. But this battle, I don't think is over yet.
Johnny Garrett was actually the faster. Oh, Hutton goes wide, and this is going to decide the race. It's easy to keep it off the wall, but that is effectively going to end this race. That is how we're going to end it.
Oh, no. Stanley Curve gets another one, Gary. I've been hoping I could say that again this race, but not in this situation.
Let's go back and let's watch this a little bit. I don't know if he just was wanting, he felt like he had a good momentum. The car was going to hold. But there we see, just goes wide this time. Actually, maybe Jan faded a little high and gave him a little dirty air, and wasn't going to allow the car to complete the pass. Keeps it off the inside wall, but on the dirt and rolling. But that's effectively going to end this race.
I did kind of notice that Hutton was going a little bit wider on the entry to turn 9 there from previous laps. So Hoffman was kind of keeping that middle to outside line, but I noticed that Hutton was really trying to open that corner up a lot, and then he just ran out of track and put one tire in the dirt, and that was pretty much all she wrote.
2 laps to go here at Willow Springs for the BJ Manufacturing IndyCar Grand Prix. Jan Hoffman now sailing. All he really needs to do is just hit his marks at this point and bring this car home. Now sailing for his 2nd win this season and 5th career win here in the Classic IndyCar Series. Has a 9-second lead, very comfortable 9-second lead over Hutton. Hutton now will just have to bring the car home, score the most points he can, and see if he can clinch that championship unofficially here, or does he have to wait a week or 2 weeks when we get to Mexico City for the inaugural running of our Grand Prix there?
I don't necessarily think that Hutton will clinch it this race. I think that there'll need to be a clinching scenario for our final race. Hoffman will need to finish a certain amount of positions ahead of Hutton in order to challenge for it, but it's always exciting to come down to the last race here. So I think that's going to be the good one. And we're now under the white flag.
After suffering a bit of a drought coming into this season, Jan Hoffman got the win earlier this season at Michigan to start the season off, and that's really the best way to start off any season. Get the opening win, start off on the best foot possible. Has been able to kind of power that victory as to maintaining his position in the points, at times not being the best or fastest car in certain races in the middle portion of the schedule, but getting now down towards the end where championship clinching scenarios are now a real thing. Getting a win now at this point in the season, very critical for Jan Hoppen. Looking at win number 5. Came into this season a bit of a drought, but no drought this season as we're in the desert and he has found victory lane Wellspring here. Win number 2. Jan Hoppen with the win at Willow Springs. He has a win this season on an oval and now on the road course. Jared Ray Hutton comes home in second. We will see if the points championship will carry over to one more race. And Johnny Garrett, well, the race that could have been for Johnny if he didn't get beached or fulcrumed or pivot or whatever you want to call it there. He is now going to come home. The pole sitter will come home third for the bottom step of the podium. Oh, Johnny Garrett goes ahead and sets a purple lap on that last lap, too. 59.8.
Yeah, totally. What could have been for Johnny Garrett this race without that little incident up the top of the hill? But we were talking about Johnny Garrett last week. He just wanted to finish a race, and now he's proven that he has the pace to run up front. He's setting purple laps, and we haven't seen the last of Johnny Garrett this season. And it'd be what a wonderful thing for him to finish up front again in Mexico City to cap off a otherwise forgettable season.
And Vortex cars side by side for the photo moment. And Jan Hoppen with the second win of the season, over 7 seconds over Jared Ray Hutton. Johnny Garrett third, Marshall Stanley fourth, Giacometti fifth. That is a good finish for Giacometti. That, I believe, will bring him up into third into the points. Robert Groscher is in sixth. Andrew Aiken very quietly works his way to seventh. Joe Hudson very quietly works his way to eighth. Stumi in ninth, and Varnikow in 10th. And Lovegren in the Love Bug in 11th. Saunders in 12th, and Mike Wayne Robinson in 13th. And donuts in the desert. And we'll get some replays queued up here. There we go. And get the track map off there too. And we'll show you the final stats one more time without all the overlays in the way. There you go. All right. And we'll see if Johnny Garrett will make an appearance here in the booth. Otherwise, do we drag him in? I don't see him yet. And we'll do a refresh real quick at some racer hub, excuse me, and see if we got the updated in points. Not yet. All right. I see. I do see Johnny Jared Ray Hutton here first, so we'll just bring him on in first and talk to him. And I'm not sure if this clinches for him, but we will talk to him anyways. We're finishing on the podium, and joining us in there in the booth is Jared Ray Hutton. Jared, second today, but again, that right there at the end, that drive off kind of just ended the opportunity, and just had to bring it home third. But just challenging Jan after Jan got you on that last pit stop. Was just unable to quite get by and pass him here. Not very many passing opportunities here with everybody so much on the throttle the entire time, and very few passing zones. But to talk about that late battle, and then finally just kind of the car just dropping a wheel and going wide into turn 9 there, kind of ending your chances.
Yeah, I'm not. I would have done it again. Pushed that hard.
That's
and
good.
Probably had the same result, but I knew that no matter what, I had to push it for everything. I had a gap behind, and I knew that I was pretty severely lacking the straight line speed compared to Jan and the Vortex guys. So I was trying to find every inch of pavement, and fortunately ended up finding a little bit more, but it was absolutely phenomenal battle with Jan. I'm really happy that I was able to be a part of it and pretty much push him right to the end for that win. So I'm really excited to see how the championship battle turns out.
Yeah, Jared, it looks like most of these road courses this season, you've tended to pretty much take the pole and drive off, and this one was a little bit more of a challenge for you. So, talk about your qualifying. Did you not do the qualifying lap that you wanted, or was it good enough? And it just you kind of needed some more reps and some more practice during the race to get yourself there again.
No, my qualifying laps were not where I wanted them to be. I wasn't as comfortable with the car once we took the fuel out, and that kind of uh, put me a little bit further back than I wanted to be. But in the race, got very lucky with what seemed to be a couple of pretty unfortunate incidents up ahead. Don't know what happened there yet. Uh, so ultimately, was pretty fortunate to be in there for the win.
Well, we got the points updated for you, and not a clinching scenario today, but just by keeping your chief rival in sight, you both will survive to go to one more round. You have a 13-point lead over Jan going to Mexico City here in 2 weeks for the finale. At that point, I'll just throw it over to you for shout-outs, friends, family, sponsors, anyone to say hi to before we let you get out of here and start prepping for a big race here in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to my family. I think that they were able to catch somewhere around the end of that race. Thanks to Robert and Jan and everyone involved in putting this league on. It's been a ton of fun this season, and hoping to have a really great race next time out.
Jared's second place today, and the points battle rages on for one more round. Congratulations. We will see you at Mexico City in about 2 weeks.
Thanks, guys. See you then.
And let's bring down Johnny Garrett, who is now joining us. And Johnny Garrett now does join us here in the booth. Started from the pole, but unfortunately got into a situation where he got a little beached. And then after that, basically found himself driving fast laps, but just nowhere near the lead battle, and brought the car home third. Let's put it that way. A bit of a rough season for you. And a good starting position today kind of betrays how you ran all day. You come home third, but still on the podium. But talk about the race. You seem to have a good handle of this place.
Oh, hey man, yeah, hey, good to be here again, guys. Yeah, it's been a rough season, so finally I can change the saying from worse to better. So I've already done the other part. So yeah, I wasn't used to having to. I didn't know how to slow. There was kind of a situation where I thought a car went off and kind of looked like it was going to drift back on the track, and it's something I hadn't practiced in that spot, so I didn't know. All of a sudden, I tapped the brakes and my car turned into a sled. So yeah, I was stuck on that turn. You guys saw me get beached. Did you see me stuck on that curb thing?
Yeah.
So I was stuck on something.
Yeah.
I
kind
almost
of,
held.
you're kind of like a bit of a teeter totter. You're on a fulcrum. You're like your front wheels were barely touching and your back wheels were barely touching. It was like
Yeah.
most ideal, a suboptimal situation of where the car ends up on that entire corner. That's where your car ended up at. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure it wasn't that uh fun to watch, but if you were in it with me, you would have seen like I was gassing it, then letting off gas in it, and it started to rock just a little bit. And after about it seemed like forever, I was like, "Ah, I should tow." But it stopped rocking a little more and finally it grabbed. So that's why I stuck it out. I got it to finally the tire touched and it pulled me off enough. So there you go. I wish I could have stayed up there with with the other guys. It seemed pretty exciting. Um, I did feel like, in my imagination, I was flying around so well. I had fantasies of like catching them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Johnny, nice finish today. You got yourself back on the podium after a couple of bad races there, but you seem to be what was the fastest car around all day, setting a lot of purple laps and really just kind of getting your way around the track really nicely. So, without giving away too many of your secrets, what is the key to being fast around this place? Is it more car setup, or is it just patience, or a certain finesse through some of those tighter corners in the middle part of the lap there? But what exactly did you find was your secret sauce here to just do really a hot lap or two around this place?
Pretty much yes to all the above that you said. I did get a setup from Robert that has very good stable setups, and all I did was changed fifth gear a little bit. I liked it a little lower, just for that first, second, and third turn sequence. I would just stay in fifth right there. But and I did. It's funny you mentioned the only thing I did to his setup is I tried. Usually I like lower tire pressure, but I went ahead and thought this track seems so fast and just flowing that I went ahead and went from 18.5 psi to 20 and a half all the way around, and probably could even played with it more. It made it a little bit like a sled. I was sliding, but it's controllable. So, and that added a good 5/10 to 6/10 of a lap right out of the box. So that's pretty much it. It wasn't anything crazy nuts setup wise.
Well, Johnny, again, two only races left in the season today, and we'll have another one at Mexico City. So a great way to at least round this season out on a high note with a podium at one of them. Shout outs, friends, family, sponsors, anyone you want to say hi to before we let you go?
Thank you guys. You do a great job. I love CIS. I always say that. Thanks, Robert and the team. Team Vortex. Congratulations to Jan. Awesome that Jared was up there giving him a fight. Can't wait to see it. And hopefully I get to hear you guys' awesome voices more in the future. And thanks for having me.
Well, congratulations. Good to have you up front on the pole position and the P3. And we'll see you in about 2 weeks when we get to Mexico City for the finale.
Absolutely. Thank you. Hey, I love third compared to how I've been doing.
I know there's probably some other people who love to swap places with you. So yeah,
Good
keep
shout,
it.
yes.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
And there is Johnny Garrett checking chat. See Rick Rayvon checking in. He goes, "What league is this? This is the Classic IndyCar Series." I'm intrigued. Well, there should be some contact information or something in the description on how to learn more. I believe I can't send out any invites in their Discord server. So unless there's an invite in the description, the best way is to search Classic IndyCar Series at iRacing and then maybe track down one of the admins that way. I know they're active on the iRacing forums, and you can maybe track down Robert or one of the Robert Grosser or one of the other admins that way and get an invite to the Discord server if you're interested. Anybody that's watching at home that would be interested in this. This is the Classic IndyCar Series, of course. Open setup. So this is not a fixed setup league. And also you're using the Legacy Dallara IR05, IR09, whatever you want to call it. And that should be, I don't think it's free, but I think it's like a $5 Legacy purchase that you make in the store. I think that's what it is. You get the DW12 for free now, but you don't get the IRO5 for free. You still have to buy it. I think it's $5, but still. Anyways, we did talk to Jared Ray. We did talk to Johnny Garrett. Let's bring in Jan Hoffman, our winner today. Here is Jan Hoffman joining us in the booth. A second win this season, 5th career win in the Classic IndyCar Series. You got one on the road course this year as well, so showing your versatility and diversity. Talk about this race. That last pit stop was the one that really decided it. You decided to overcut, or I forget. It was the undercut. You got him on the undercut, I think, of what it was. I could be wrong. I know we were talking about it. I might have got my terms mixed up here, but let's talk about that last pit stop, because that ultimately is what decided the pass here, because he was unable to get that position back.
Yeah, hi guys. Yeah, I think I overcut.
Yes.
I went longer.
Yep, you did.
I think Jared.
Jared went first. If I'm looking at my notes right now, yeah.
Yeah, we basically did the opposite compared to the first cycle, and yeah, I tried to split it into 27, 26 laps. And yeah, apparently the overcut seems to work in this car. So I was very surprised, honestly, to be ahead of Jared, or coming out ahead of him, and then it was just defending for 26 laps.
Yeah, and so this is what I would call, and I've raced through for years and years now, and this almost seems exactly the textbook Jan Hoffman. Just put him on the stove and let him simmer for a bit. It'll be a little bit rough at the start of the race, but then unstoppable later on. So do I have that right in calling that, where it was like, I'm going to be mistake free for the last bit of the race there and not let anyone pass?
Yeah, I think today I really pushed from lap 1 onwards. Usually it takes like 30 laps or so. Yeah, it was just trying to stay with him and waiting for the second pit stop. I was hoping that I would be closer coming into the last corner, or the last mile, or whatever, how long this corner is, and then get the run, because I noticed that Jared was running more aero, so I knew on the straight I could catch him. But yeah, it was tricky in the middle part, hanging with him, because he had so much grip in the middle section and the curvy part.
Well, Jan, you're going to live to see at least one more round as we go to Mexico City. Now 13 points behind Jared. Still have a shot at getting the championship. Need a big field to show up for Mexico City. That would help. But surviving at least one more day and one more round before this championship is decided when we get to Mexico City. Shout-outs, friends, family, sponsors, anyone I want to say hi to before we let you go?
Well, shout out to my team. They prepared a very fast car for this weekend. So yeah, also good to see that Manche is back racing. Yeah, big shout out to them, and of course to my family, and yeah, to you guys for hopefully enjoying this awesome race we had.
Hey, there was only 13 cars, but man, you guys up front made it entertaining. So we thank you for the drama. We just do our best to call it. But Jan Hoffman, winner, 5th career win, 2nd win this season after a bit of a dry spell. Like I said, found a little bit of an oasis in the desert here with a win at Willow Springs. Congratulations, and we'll see in about 2 weeks when we get to Mexico City for the finale. And we will move Jan out. There we go. I do want to shout out a couple drivers before we get final thoughts here, because I know Andrew needs to get rolling. When they take the checkered flag here in our overlay, or at least my timing of scoring, it will update stats from the race that we don't see that are given during the race. And one of those things that it updates right at the checkered flag is the incidents list, or the incident limits for all the drivers, or the incident number. Andrea Giacometti finished 5th, had 4 incidences all day with a car that's unwieldy and on a racetrack that's not very familiar to everybody. Only 4 incidents, Andrew, for Giacometti. Pretty impressive. But final thoughts before I let you get on out of here. With Jan Hoffman surviving to see another round, Hutton finishing second, and Johnny Garrett in third.
Yeah, it was actually quite an exciting race, and you and I are both new to this circuit, so we kind of had to learn on the fly about where the biggest passing points and action points were for the whole race. But yeah, it was very, very exciting to watch, and I was joking around with a few of the guys in the chat afterwards that if I had done this track, I would have gone over a crest and probably killed a spectator. So it was probably better that I was hanging out with you in the booth today. But that went by really fast too, as well, Gary. That was a very fast race. The drivers really got their work cut out for them. I was expecting a little bit more exhaustion, but we got some laughs out of everyone. So I guess everyone seems to be doing pretty well, and this championship really is going to be exciting till probably the very last lap, or so we'll hope.
All right, well, I will let you go, but I will see you next here in the CIS here in a couple of weeks when we get to Mexico City. But I'll see you again in the booth next Sunday night when we go to Pocono and the Dark Horse Racing Series.
Yes, definitely. We'll be back for that one, and that will be another enjoyable one.
All right, that is Andrew Wood, who has to blow on out of here and get started for the rest of his Sunday. But we'll wrap it up here and give everyone back the remainder of their Sunday afternoon. I know there's some other racing on. People like to watch. So go check that out. And don't forget, later tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, votive. The Indy Oval Series will be at proper Phoenix right here on P1. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. We should have about another 40 cars lining up on the grid for that, so you don't want to miss it. So that's it for today. Once again, your podium here from Willow Springs for the inaugural running of the BJ Manufactured IndyCar Grand Prix is Jan Hoffman, second win this season, 5th career win overall. Jared Ray Hutton still holding on to the points lead, has 13-point lead. 13-point lead. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah, he has 13 points. Has a lead over Jared Ray Hutton. Jared Ray Hutton over Jan Hoffman going to the final race. And Johnny Garrett with a podium finish. I believe that's his first of the season as he comes home in third. Join us again, like I said, 2 weeks, Championship Sunday, Round 8, Season 12, Sim Gaming Expo, Classic IndyCar Series. This is a transition season as the teams and drivers head to Mexico City for the very first time. Coverage begins around 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, it's 2:00 p.m. Eastern. Remember, it's all new season, all new time. So as always, the correct broadcast time in your area. You can find everything right here at YouTube at youtube.com/@P1Broadcast. Now, as you know, the YouTube algorithm game is not an easy one, so please help support P1 with the weekly grind. Leave a comment below. Let us know your thoughts on today's race. If you enjoyed today's coverage, support us by smashing like in the video. If you're new, click subscribe and while at it, the bell for weekly reminders to miss out on more P1's other iRacing programming, including coverage of we've got another championship going to be decided this week. Championship Wednesday for the Formula Racing League's Formula Super Series. Join Jacob and Sophie as they call the action for their season finale at Road America. Coverage starts at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time right here on P1. Today's inaugural running of the IndyCar Grand Prix from Willow Springs Raceway is proudly sponsored by BJ Manufacturing. BJ Manufacturing provides high-quality machining, welding, and fabrication work in Riverside, California. To learn more, to check out their links, they are all in the description. Season 12, the Classic IndyCar Series is brought to you by Sim Gaming Expo. Get ready for the ultimate simulation gaming experience. The Sim Gaming Expo is bringing all genres of simulation and gaming technology under one roof. Join us September 18th through 20th at Chicagoland at the Schomburg Convention Center to try out the latest gear for the biggest brands in industry. Meet your favorite streamers and celebrate your passion for simulation with our incredible community. Don't miss out. To learn more, to get your tickets now, go to simgamingexpo.com or be a part of simulation gaming history today. Remember, tickets are on sale now, so go to the website and buy them. For business inquiries to learn more about P1 and what we do, like us on Facebook. You can follow us on X and Instagram. All the links you can follow for all of our social links are on Linktree. You can check those out in the description. So for Andrew Wood, everyone here at P1, Sim Gaming Expo, the Classic IndyCar Series, BJ Manufacturing, I want to thank them a lot for their sponsorship on all of our races all season long. I'm Gary Gatso saying all. Good night, thanks for watching, or good afternoon, and thanks for watching. And all of our men and women serving in the military as first responders, Godspeed, God bless, and come home safe. Also want to thank those serving in the military that are right now in the Middle East, in the skies and the seas. Godspeed, God bless, and come home safe. Catch us again right here in 2 weeks for Championship Sunday, Mexico City, for the next race of the Sim Gaming Expo Classic IndyCar Series. Happy Sunday, everybody. We'll see you later tonight when Votive takes to Phoenix. Proper Phoenix. See ya.